Uh, Good evening to everybody who have joined us online for this session. As you know, today we're going to have a lecture on one of the most famous and distinct writers of coastal Karnataka, Sara Abubakar. And I'm very happy to tell you that the person who is going to take us on a journey through Sara's works is an excellent teacher and an erudite scholar. We have with us Dr. Rajalakshmi NK, and it's my proud privilege and honor to welcome and introduce Madam to this session. Uh, Dr. Rajalakshmi NK is presently serving as Associate Professor and head of the Department of English at University College Mangalore, which is one of the oldest as well as the prestigious institution in Mangalore. I have got the profile of Dr. Rajalakshmi, which is quite long and very impressive. I'm afraid whether I could finish it within the time given to me, but I would like to definitely pick some of the very important points and present it to the audience today. Dr. Rajalakshmi, Madam, obtained her PhD thesis on the topic Modernity, Colonialism, and the Nation, a study with reference to some works of Amitav Ghosh. She has also carried out a UGC minor research project on translation, colonialism, cultural studies, and she has got quite a number of publications to her credit. To name a few of them, in English, she has uh, an article titled Text and Context Problems in Reading Translated Folktales, which was published in the Indian Journal of Comparative Literature and Translation Studies. Uh, Pandita Ramabai Saraswati, Making of a Social Entrepreneur, which was published in Scientific Review. Indian Writing in English, a Subversive History of Nationalism, which was published in the Journal of the Department of English, University of Midnapur. In addition to this, she has also many research publications on the topic of her PhD thesis, that is the works of Amitav Ghosh. Uh, what makes Dr. Rajalakshmi a very different scholar is that she is quite competent and erudite in both in English as well as Kannada languages. She has got many publications in Kannada as well. To name a few, uh, Itihasada Srashti, Bhavishyada Drashti, ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಯ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಯ ಪರಿಭಾಷೆಯ ರೂಪಕ ಭಾಷೆ. And this is a very interesting title. ವಿಜ್ಞಾನವೆಂಬ ಅಂಧಶ್ರದ್ಧೆ, ಅಂಧಶ್ರದ್ಧೆ ಎಂಬ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ, ಒಂದು ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯಿಕ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ, ಆಧುನಿಕತೆ, ವಸಾಹತೀಕರಣ ಮತ್ತು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ. So these are some of her Kannada publications. Besides, she has also many editorial volumes, both in English as well as Kannada, to her credit. It's an impressive list. I won't read out everything here. Madam Rajalakshmi has made many scholarly presentations in international as well as national seminars and conferences. She presented a paper titled Translation of Folk Literature in the Colonial and the Post-Colonial Period in the international conference organized by FCT. She presented a paper titled Content and Context Towards a Comprehensive Definition of Social Entrepreneurship in India, which was presented in the 7th Asia Pacific Regional Conference at Trisakti University, Bali, Indonesia. She has also presented a paper, she was a lead speaker and presented a paper on culture and identity in the National Seminar on Dislocation, Identities, Multiculturalism and the Diaspora at St. Aloysius College, Mangalore. And there are many more papers presented by her. I'm just skipping all these papers because, when she speaks, the caliber of Dr. Rajalakshmi. Very happy to say that two of her articles have been included in the syllabi of the University of Sao Paulo, Brazil. for the year 2005 and 2006. And her unpublished thesis titled Modernity, Colonialism and the Nation has been included in as an important reference text in the post-colonial studies department in the same university at Brazil. And she has carried out some interesting translation works as well. To name some of them, she has done a transcription as well as translation of U.R. Anantmurthy's interview with General K.M. Karyappa. She translated an article Bettada Melondu Putta Nakshatra by Gopal Naik for a documentary in All India Radio Hassan. Translated Agatha Christie's short story The Adventure of the Clapham Cook, which appeared in Tingalu, and she also translated Parivala the Hadu, a play by Banu Mustaq in Kannada, into English for All India Radio Hassan. And also she has translated Black Cobras, that is originally Banu Mustaq's Karinagar Galu, which was for Sahitya Academy bi-monthly journal. So I have kept it very simple. In fact, the profile is very long and quite impressive. But I thought this would tell a lot about Dr. Rajalakshmi ma'am. This is enough, I thought. And beyond these academic and scholarly accomplishments, Dr. Rajalakshmi madam is a down-to-earth, humble, friendly, compassionate person and a teacher. And I had the great pleasure to work with her for a year in the beginning of my career as a teacher in the same institution where she works now. I have always admired her work, the kind of teaching she does and the kind of work she does. And I'm sure there are so many students of her who also try to emulate her. And madam, welcome and thank you for being with us this evening. We're all eager to listen to you. So I once again welcome everybody present, and I welcome Dr. Rajalakshmi ma'am and Dr. Girish Bhatt sir as well. Thank you all. Over to you, madam.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you so much, Nandakishore. But I don't know whether I deserve all that applause that Nandakishore was trying to associate with me. He introduced me, and now I am supposed to introduce Sara to you all. It's a great pleasure to be a part of the venture that Kuvempu Bhasha Bharati Pradhikara has taken up, because I have already, I think for some time, I have been working with Kuvempu Bhasha Bharati Pradhikara as a translator. I translated quite a few things to Kuvempu Bhasha Bharati Pradhikara, and my association with this organization was not just a pleasant one, it was quite a fruitful one as well. So when the president of Kuvempu Bhasha Bharati Pradhikara, Dr. Girish Bhatt approached me, I was actually quite overwhelmed, because it is not just a pleasure to be associated with Kuvempu Bhasha Bharati Pradhikara, it's joining hands in the service of Kannada, and Pradhikara is doing a wonderful job in connection with this. So thanks again to Kuvempu Bhasha Bharati Pradhikara and Dr. Girish Bhatt, and also Nandakishore, who took so much of pains to introduce me to the crowd, wherein I felt that if he had just said that this is Rajalakshmi, that would have been more than enough. Okay, without giving more of introduction to all this, I think I will make an attempt to introduce Sara Abubakar to the non-Kannadigas, and I'm introducing a writer who is well known. I don't know whether she is popular, because popular is a word that can be used very positively, as well as popularity can be otherwise as well. But I can say that Sara Abubakar is a very important writer. And personally, I felt when I was reading her, how can someone ignore Sara if they are if they are in favor of Kannada literature? Before I introduce Sara Abubakar, I want to say a few things about this relationship between Kannada and English. Because I'm speaking today about a prominent Kannada writer to the non-Kannadikas, to the non-Kannada readers, and my audience are the English-speaking world. What is this relationship between Kannada and English-speaking world, and why am I talking about a Kannada writer to the English-speaking world? And I teach English, and I am a Kannadika. My mother tongue is Kannada. Then what is this relationship between Kannada and English? Once we understand what is this relationship between Kannada and English, then it becomes very easy for all of us to understand what is Sara Abu Bakr. So keeping that in mind, I am trying to explore this relationship between Kannada and English. That is, Kannada is a very rich language, has vast fund of knowledge, and very rich literature. You go through Kannada literature, you realize that it is so rich, so immense that it is impossible to go through all the writers and internalize all the writers, digest their writing, very rich. And who knows about this vast fund of knowledge? Who is capable of digesting this vast fund of knowledge? Perhaps Kannadigas. Those who know Kannada. Not necessary that you should be a Kannadika. If you're well versed in Kannada, you will be able to get into that vast fund of knowledge. If Kannada is so rich, what is the necessity for Kannada to get translated into English? What is the necessity of Kannada to speak to the English speaking world? Then the problem starts. Where lies the problem? The problem lies with the fact that there is a power relationship between Kannada and English. English belongs to the world, whereas Kannada doesn't belong to the world. If it has to belong to the world, it has to speak through English. Kannada has to speak through English if it has to reach to the larger public, if it has to belong to the world. Kuimpu Bhasha Bharati Pradhikara realizes this. That is why it wants Kannada books to be translated into English and Kannada books, Kannada writers to be introduced to the English world. Fine. Today, Sara is going to be introduced into the English world. Yesterday, Devanuru Mahadeva was introduced, Shuram Karant was introduced. A series of writers were introduced to the English speaking world. What is that I am trying to do when I introduce a Kannada writer to the English speaking world? What I am trying to do is, I am trying to tell the English speaking world, look here is Kannada, which needs to be identified, which needs to be understood. If you feel that the world has to grow in a very healthy manner, the world has to grow in terms of humanity, in terms of exploring the truth, see here we have a whole lot of good literature. And why am I speaking to the English speaking world is, I want my Kannada literature to be accepted, identified in the larger world by the larger public. Fine. That means there is a power relation. Kannada stands somewhere below English, below English, and addresses English and tries to say that, look here, I am standing right below you. Look at me, understand me, identify me, and recognize me. And I feel happy when I am recognized. With this, what I'm trying to bring home, the point that I want to bring home is, this world is built around power relation. The people who are at a lower position want to be looked at, want to be identified, and want to be felt needed in this world. If this is the relationship between two languages, that is Kannada and English, same formula holds good when you think of the women who write and the men who write. You look at the series of writers that is being chosen in this series. How many women are there in the series? How many men are there in the series? I'm not trying to find fault, or I'm not going to blame. I'm just trying to draw your attention to the proportion that is there. Even if there were 20 women and 10 men, or 2 women and 10 men, it wouldn't make any difference to me. But then the whole power structure, how it operates, becomes very important for me. The world runs with power relation. Forget about the ratio that we have. How many women writers are introduced? How many men writers are being introduced? At least some women writers are being introduced is something when it comes to power relation that operates in this world. So, how do men write and how do women write? I'm not trying to bring in this binary opposite and trying to say that women don't enjoy being writers, they have been subverted. No, that is not the point that I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say the world that is entered, the door that the women open, the door that the men open to enter this world of power relation. There is a difference. There is a difference because men operate in a system, operate in a structure which actually is a very large world, the external world, the civil society, a huge civil society to which they belong to. They have the freedom to enter that world, the external world. But for men, it is not easy to survive there. They are also negotiating with the power relation that exists there. And where does power lie? Power lies in certain locations. The location of power can be caste, the location of power can be position, the location of power can be wealth, it could be anything. But men negotiate with those power centers in the external world. So when they negotiate with the external world like that, they get an idea of what this world is, what this man made world is, what this power relation is. And in their writing, you see uh, a glimpse of, and sometimes an intense look into the power relation that they negotiate with the outside world. Uh, Compare this with the women writing. Very few women have an access to this external world. Of course, number of women are working today, and of course, you will never forget Benazir Bhutto. You will never forget Mrs. Gandhi. A lot of women achievers are there, but how many women have an access to this external world? And when they enter this external world, like men, they do negotiate, they do contest the power relations. At the same time, they have the men also to contest, men also to negotiate when they enter this external world. Sarah does not belong to that world where she enters the external world and tries to negotiate with power centers. What is her world? Hers is a world which is internal, and her negotiation, her contestation is with the power relation within the patriarchal system. We all agree that we all live in a patriarchal system. And in this patriarchal system, the power operates in a very subtle way, not the way the power operates in the external world, where power is centered around the position, wealth, etc., etc. In a patriarchy where Sarah tries to negotiate, the power lies just by being a male, just by being a man. No other qualification is necessary to exercise power. By being a man, you can exercise power. So she deals with that world of power. So I would relocate Sarah from this power structure and the writer's negotiation, the writer's contest, and writer's quarrels sometimes, and writer's dialogue with this world of power structure, which operates through patriarchy. And what is the outcome of this? Sarah is not going to fight with patriarchy and seek for justice. Sarah Abu Bakr has not done that even in a single book of hers. And I was going through criticism and critique of Sarah and identifying Sarah as from different locations as such. Lot of books, lot of papers, lot of research identify Sarah Abu Bakr as a feminist writer. And there are also writings and articles which identify Sarah as Islamic feminist writer, a Muslim feminist writer. And there are also criticism which deals with Sarah's work, which tries to throw light on Sarah's writing as a critique of patriarchy as such. And I have also come across papers which speaks about Sarah as someone who tries to display the loopholes in the value system that exists in this society. But if I subscribe to any one of these views, I feel that I'm doing some injustice to Sarah. If I say that Sarah is a feminist, I don't think I'm doing justice to Sarah's work. Or if I say that Sarah is trying to uh, explicitly explore the value system, then again, I feel I am doing some injustice to Sarah. If I feel that for all the views that has been said so far, I am doing injustice to Sarah, am I being arrogant and trying to say that all the research work that has gone into Sarah's work is a waste and they're all foolish and only I know what the world is? No, it's not like that. What I am trying to say is there is a missing link here, and I am trying to put all the missing links together now and try to give a proper framework to the study of Sarah Abu Bakr. And what is that framework? Religion, of course, plays an important role in our lives. In the same way, value system unknowingly molds us and makes decisions for us. Sarah speaks about all that. It's not that Sarah doesn't speak about the loopholes in uh, Islam. It's not that she doesn't speak about the loopholes in the value system, but there is a particular lens through which she tries to see all this. The lens that she uses to see through religion, see through the value system is the lens of patriarchy. So Sarah's work can be completely understood if you look at her work as patriarchy which works through religion, patriarchy which works through value system. So that is the way perhaps I understand Sarah Abu Bakr, and that is the framework through which I would like to introduce Sarah Abu Bakr to the English speaking world. Of course, if I had to speak to Kannada speaking world also, I would say the same thing. But what is important here is religion on its own is not a bad thing. Religion is a wonderful thing. It is a guiding path for us. There is, and when, of course, we create religion. It's not, and we reach a stage wherein religion starts creating us. I mean, it's finally it would lead to uh, an argument like which came first, whether egg came first or the hen came first, kind of an argument. I am not going to dwell into all that, but then religion and making of the man, they are interrelated and they are interdependent. So religion was not constructed to harm men and women. It was constructed and constituted to tell men and women that there is something called dharma, and dharma has to be upheld. And religion can do it. So if you think that Quran says certain things, then you are getting misled. Quran says lot of things. Why only certain things are taken out of Quran and it gets quoted and Islam gets misrepresented? Sarah's work deal with one of the major things that appears in Quran, that is the triple talaq. Talaq becomes one of the important aspects that Sarah notices, which has created misery for lot of women in the Islamic world as such. And what does Quran say about it? She is thorough with Quran. And you read all the introduction to her work. She tells us what is the objective of the book. Whatever is the book that she writes, whatever is the short story that she writes, the collection of short stories, in the introduction she says, why am I writing this? What is my objective of writing this? So that she's guiding you how to read a book. She's telling you what is a concern in the book, wherein you can't say that Sarah doesn't know what she's writing, but I can say it. No, that option is not there. She tells us very clearly why she is writing it, what the story is all about, and she writes in a realistic manner. Those are all realist stories. They're not something which surrealist or magic realist. No, not like that. They're very, very realistic, very, very straightforward, transparent kind of characters, black and white kind of characters that you come across in Sarah's work. So, what Sarah does is Sarah tries to show the world to us, and most of the time it is the world of the Muslim women through the lens of patriarchy and how religion operates within those characters, how value system operates within those characters, because patriarchy is operating through religion and value system. So now, having given this framework to Sarah as looking at religion and value system through the patriarchy which operates through religion and value system, let me take up one or two books of Sarah to make it more explicit how Sarah deals with the life of the women in coastal region, that is border Kerala and South Canara. And she specifically is talking about one particular community in Islam, and that is the Bari community. When we say Muslim and Islam, we are talking about a large umbrella. But we are talking about Bari. We are talking about a small community which belongs to coastal Karnataka. Coastal region, that is Dakshina Kannada and Kasargod, the border Kerala and Mangalore as such, the place to which I belong. And I have a lot of contact with this Bari community. And Sarah Abu Bakr, talks about that community. Uh, I will be dealing with I would like to discuss just two or three of her works. The first one that I would like to discuss is Chandragiriya Tiradalli. Chandragiriya Tiradalli is a novel, I would say. Of course, it is considered a novel. It is around 80 to 90 pages as such. A short novel, perhaps, which won her Kendra Sahitya Academy Award and which brought a lot of popularity to Sarah, and at the same time brought a lot of opposition also to Sarah. This novel specifically deals with the talaq system in their community. You have two major characters here. One is Nadira and Nadira's husband, Bashir. A very compatible couple, very loving couple, absolutely no discrimination and absolutely no misunderstanding. You can say that they were the ideal couple, happily married couple, but very young couple, and they're happy. And once they get married, they live a very, very ideal, happy married life, and absolutely no problem from the in laws as well. Sometimes what happens is husband and wife will be happy, but in laws become the villains. Even that problem is not there. And they get a child, and goes to her mother's place, and her attraction and her love for the husband is so much so that when the child was 3 months old, she wants to come back to the husband's house. So everything is fine in their life, but who becomes the villain in her life? The person who becomes the villain in her life is her father. Nadira has his sister, and sister has to get married, and father has not saved enough money for the second daughter's wedding. And he comes to know that the son-in-law, that is Nadira's husband, has made a lot of money, and so he wants to borrow money from Bashir. So he goes and meets him, and Bashir says that, do you think that I own a bank that I can lend some money to you? This hurts the ego of the father-in-law. So what he does is, stealthily, he takes the daughter home, saying that she is required, she is needed for the preparation of the wedding of her sister. Mother-in-law had given her permission. She was hesitant to, but mother-in-law says that you can go ahead. I will tell your husband when he comes back that you are gone to your mother's place. So she goes there, and very soon she realizes that father has brought her home and he's not going to send her back to her husband's house at all. In between the father's house and her husband's house, there is the river Chandragiri, and they had to cross the river using the boat. And women of those days never traveled alone, they have to have someone with them. I mean, you remember that Sarah was writing this in the 1980s, 1990s, the things of the past, not like the present, the days where there were no mobile phones, absolutely. So she longs to go back. She fights with her father, fights in the sense she doesn't have the courage to fight openly. She asked the father, mother, but she was not allowed to go back to her husband's house at all. Finally, what happens is the Nadira's father uh, feels that Nadira should get married to someone else. But Nadira has a son. Bashir can't live without Nadira. He sends a fisherwoman to bring her back home, and the fisherwoman comes and tells her that there is a letter from your husband, and she reads, and the letter says that she can go with her to her husband's place. But Nadira doesn't go. Why Nadira doesn't go is she feels that she should tell her father if she is leaving the house and going. As she felt that she should tell her husband before leaving her husband's place, now she feels that she should tell her husband before, she should tell her father before she leaves her father's place. At the same time, there is also a fear. She doesn't tell the father and she tries to escape, but she's sure of meeting the father on the way some way, and that is going to worsen the condition. So she tells Paru, the fisherwoman, that she is not going to go with her. The next step that Bashir takes is to send his mother to Nadira's house, and the mother-in-law comes. When the mother-in-law comes, Nadira is very happy. She feels that the mother-in-law has come to take her back to her husband's house. And she goes inside to get some tea for her. And when she comes out, the mother-in-law is not there, and mother-in-law has carried her son also. And she could see the mother-in-law getting onto the boat with a child and going away. Now the mother is separated from the child. And she can also see that her husband is waiting on the other side of the river for the child to arrive. And Nadira wonders, how can I live without the child? Initially, it was living without the husband, now living without the husband and the child as well. She weeps. She is sad. But what about her father? Her father's anger increases. But why did Bashir do that if he had loved his wife so much? He does that because he feels that Nadira cannot stay without the child. Mother's love for the child is such that she cannot live without the child. This will make the wife come back to him. But it doesn't happen so. She belongs to that patriarchal value system wherein she wouldn't do anything without the permission of the father now. And she doesn't have the freedom to do anything without the permission of the father. Father takes advantage of the situation. He goes to Bashir and tells him that Nadira wants a talaq from you because you don't love her. You have taken the child away from her. She no longer loves you. She wants a talaq from you. In that fit of a moment, Bashir gives Nadira talaq. Now they are separated. And what is the plan of the father? The father wants the daughter to be married to a very rich man so that his problem, the monetary problem, would be solved. he comes across an old man, uh, and he decides on the marriage of his daughter with that old man, a very rich old man. There is no compatibility of age or anything, but if he is rich, that is more than enough. What else does a woman need other than a rich husband, irrespective of the age? When he dies, nobody knows. He brings the proposal to the daughter and tells Nadira that she should get married to him. You see how the mind works. She says that if you make arrangements for my marriage with anybody else, I will die of suicide. I will jump into the river and I'm going to die. And after that, the father is able to see what is sad Nadira. Gradually, the father loses his health and realizes his mistake. And Bashir also realizes his mistake. He wants to get back to Nadira, and father also wants Nadira to go back to Bashir. But then there is a problem with the dictum of the religion. It says that if a wife is separated from the husband, if she has to go back to the husband again, there has to be a remarriage. But remarriage is not going to be easy. Before she gets married to him, she should get married to another man and spend a night with him, and then she should get a talaq from that man, that is the second husband. She should get a talaq from that man, and only then can go back to her first husband and get married to him. Bashir says, let her get married. I will treat her as a pure woman. It doesn't matter to me. Because he loves her so much, it doesn't matter to him. But for Nadira, it matters. She has grown up in that patriarchal value system. It matters to her. But finally, there is no other go. And there is a man in the town who is meant for that, to whom she can get married. He is a dull head. The marriage is fixed. And she agrees. On the day of the marriage, what happens is she goes and looks at him and she wonders, can I spend a night with him? And she goes to Chandragiri and she jumps into the river. She dies of suicide. Her life comes to an end. Now, where does the problem lie? Is the problem with religion? Is the problem with a value system? There you see that Sarah Abu Bakr is trying to analyze the whole system, understand the whole system, that patriarchy is operating through religion, patriarchy is operating through the value system, wherein it is the patriarchal ego of the father which has created the tragedy. There is triple talaq, but then who is using it? Why is it used for? It is used for the male ego of the patriarchy and exercising of power of patriarchy of the father. And what kind of a husband is Bashir? Bashir is a nice man, unlike her father. But when it comes to the fight between the ego clash between the father and the son in law, they compete with each other. And finally, all three of them, they suffer. The father suffers, the husband suffers, and also Nadira suffers. And one delicate thing, one fine strand that we have to notice here is, if you think in terms of the patriarchy and patriarchal value system, if Nadira spends a night with another man and goes back to her husband, and husband accepts her, gets married to her, the patriarchal male ego can always be hurt, and that blown up image of masculinity can be punctured by saying that, oh, your wife, she slept with another man at least for one night. And it is a test of time, it is a test of integrity for the man as well, and not just for the woman. But of course, for a woman, it is not a choice. For a man, also, it is not his choice. But for a man, it is a punishment mainly because, in a fit of passion, he had given divorce to her, and now when he has to get back, she won't be the same woman with whom he has lived earlier. What mattered to me when I was reading this novel was a life is lost. Nadira's life is lost, and when patriarchy operates through religion and value system, the tragedy is that for no fault of Nadira, her life is lost and she was not given a chance to explore life. The other novel that I want to speak a few words about is uh, a novel where a novel where it's not about the Muslims, it's about the Hindus. That is why I had taken up that novel. Just one second. Uh, the title of the novel is Kadana Virama, where uh, the whole novel centers around Sanjay and Nirmala. Uh, this story also ends with Nirmala's death, and Nirmala also dies of suicide. Nirmala dies of suicide because she is completely disillusioned with the institution of marriage. She longs for some kind of an identity by her husband and also from her in laws, which she fails to get. And for her husband, his family was important. For her husband, it was money that was important, and the wife was secondary. And she waits and waits and waits for him to show her concern, but finally she fails to get it. And when she conceives, she thinks about it. Tomorrow, this child is going to be born into this world. And then she wonders, is it necessary to bring this child into this world? And do I have to see this child grow in a world like this? And she dies. I mean, she dies of suicide, but it is shown as the gas cylinder getting burst, and she suffers a lot of injury, but finally she dies. Why this is also important for me is women finally they end their life. It is not because all doors are closed for them, they die because they feel that this world is not their choice. This world does not accommodate them. Why Sarah is important today is Sarah is pointing at that society where religion is not a problem, where value system is not a problem, patriarchy is a problem. Patriarchy is a problem for both men and women. It's not just for women that it is a problem. Patriarchy became a problem for uh, Bashir also. Patriarchy became a problem for Sanjay also. And the value system became a problem for everyone as well. So here is Sarah who is trying to point out the loopholes in the system, the loopholes in the value system, the loopholes in patriarchy, which uses all pockets. Wherever there is space, patriarchy enters that and tries to exploit it and exercise power. So Sarah is pointing out at those loopholes in patriarchy. When it exercises power, it is bringing tragedy into the lives of people. The importance of Sarah Abubakar today is by pointing out the value system, religion, and patriarchy, and the relationship between the three. She is making the reader think about the problems in this world. There is a world in this world. Till I read Sarah properly, I used to think that there is some problem with Islam. But Islam turned out to be a wonderful religion. Like any other religion, this is also a wonderful religion. What fundamentalist did, what patriarchy did through fundamentalists is misrepresentation of the religion itself. Sarah tries to throw light on the beauty of Islam and also how patriarchy uses only certain aspect of Quran which can be very easily accessible to exercise power over women and in the process misrepresent Islam itself. She says that triple talaq is a very bad thing that exists in Islam. If it is just that, the religious heads would have solved the problem. Of course, today triple talaq is not there. And we should feel that people like Sarah worked for it and today they have achieved something. But patriarchy wanted to keep it alive for a longer and a longer and a longer period. And the value system that patriarchy has created, that also is taken care of by patriarchal system, the power structure within the patriarchy. And Sarah is fighting with that. And she shows that women try to negotiate, contest, have a dialogue with the patriarchy and try to say that identifiers, identifiers, we don't want you to treat us above you. We don't want to say that we want to put our feet into your shoes. No, identify us for what we are. As Kannada has to be identified by the English world for what Kannada is rich uh, in knowledge. Same way, women also have a world which is very, very rich. Identify the women for they are women, not as your equals, not as someone who would like to enter the world of men. They are different, but a world is also negotiating with some kind of power structure, as the world of men is also negotiating with the external world of power structure. And for me, Sarah is very, very important because of this a very valid insight into power structure, very valid insight into uh, patriarchy. And she did it in the 80s and the 90s. And the tone with which Sarah writes, Sarah is not angry with the world. She is a kind of reformer who wants to bring this change into the world, wherein she actually is just laying bare, displaying what is happening in this world. And she's not even saying that don't do this and do this. That is left to the reader. As readers, she makes us think and make us feel that we should change this world. This is what is happening is not right. What Nadira did, I should not be doing. I should be someone who would give empowerment to other women like Sarah did by pointing out the mistakes. And that is where Sarah becomes very, very valuable to us. The tone with which she writes, there is no anger and there is no fighting. And even the women there, they're not submissive, but they submit. That calm submission make us feel that no, this should not happen to a woman. We should do something about it. I think Sarah very quietly fights with patriarchy, very quietly brings home the idea that this world has to change, and for this world to change, people around us, it is not men alone. Patriarchy is not men alone. Women within that patriarchy also exercise power, taking the help of men. So power becomes important. That power structure within patriarchy becomes important. And Sarah tries to lay bare that the operating system of this power structure. And that is why Sarah becomes very, very important today. And since there are quite a few audience here who are not very familiar to the important works of Sarah, there's a whole lot of books by Sarah here. And my personal favorite is Chandragiriya Tiradalli, and Vajragalu also is one of those books. And then this is a good book wherein the women are said to be used like slippers, the footwear. And who says this? Not the husband, the father says. Father says to the son in law, use my daughter like the slipper. The daughter in law, the daughter is shocked. Son in law gets a shock and develops an aversion to father in law when he says that. That is Chappaligalu. And then you have Vikariya Malugalu. And this is also a collection of no, short stories. I mean, this is articles. Hentegalu Kugabaradu. Then Sara Abubakar, The Complete Works. Gagana Saki. Pravaha Suli, and Kadana Virama. And this is a very interesting folk tale. Two folk tales are there in this, Sumaya and Sandehada Suliyali. And I was able to read all these books. I think I owe a great thanks to my librarian, Vanaja Bolur, who gave all these books to me to read, Women Helping Women. Okay, now my last words. I feel that women writers, when they express their views about this world, they become empowered. Women empowerment is the need of the hour. As readers, we should read Sarah, imbibe those ideas, help ourselves, help other women, and become empowered. I thank everyone who had patiently listened to me. I thank Kuvempu Bhasha Bharati Pradhikara for giving this opportunity to speak a few words about Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. It was indeed a very, very, very comprehensive presentation lecture within the given time frame. You made us, understand Sarah Abubakar and her works. Thank you very much. In fact, when you narrated the story of Chandragiriya Tiradalli, it was a kind of, watching a movie. It was so beautifully described by you. And we know the kind of teacher you are. Thanks for the presentation, ma'am, and also thank you for familiarizing Sarah Abubakar with the English speaking community, because writers like Sarah Abubakar, who are located in a small place like Mangalore, no, they need to be, as you said in the beginning, they are very important writers, and they need to be introduced to a bigger reading, crowd. And you have done it today. Thank you very much. I thank once again for the times and the resources, and you have done your work. We can see that, and you have spent your precious time with us. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thanks a lot. I would like to thank Dr. Girish Bhatt sir, the president of Kuvempu Bhasha Bharati Pradhikara, for identifying such wonderful scholars and giving them an opportunity to present their views on different writers. Thank you, Dr. Girish sir, and I thank him once again for giving me an opportunity to be here and doing my small service in this big, work. Thank you. And I would like to thank everybody who is present here today, all the August gathering and the audience who are here. Thank you very much for being with us, and we hope to see you in our future endeavors too. Thank you, one and all. Thanks a lot.